Hey, good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to the shop here at Markelly Farm. We're doing something today we've been wanting to do for a while. We've got our John Deere Model E hit and miss engine here, and we need to get it put on a cart. So I've got to where this thing's not starting for me, so we need to address that first. So stick around, we're going to work on this old gem of a motor here. So if you remember, we did a refurbish on this John Deere E 1.5 horsepower hit and miss engine. And we had it running like a song, but it hasn't been wanting to start as of late. And I'm checking it out, going through everything here, and I figured out our timing is off. So when it comes around, you see this area here that says spark with this little nub here. Well, this little nub is supposed to be lined up with your trip lever here when the igniter kicks. So that spark mark has been about up here right now when this lever trips. So we need to adjust this leg forward so it trips when that spark mark is right here. So we're going to get a 9/16 wrench and we'll spin this thing around and we'll adjust it to where that is correct. Now I've already checked. There's a this little pin here. If you hold your finger on that, when this spark mark comes around, that should go in. And we're in time there, but we're just not in time here. So we've got that adjusted now. So let's see, here's our spark mark here. Watch that go around. Let me make sure this thing's not going to start on me. Take that wire loose. So you can hear it just went off and we're right there. So let's spin it around. I'll show you how that works. So we're coming around. It's not going to go on that one, but it's coming back. Now as it comes forward, you should see our spark mark coming. Pretty close. Right there. We're just a little, well, we're probably right on. Let's do that again. See when it trips. Okay, here we come. A little early, but I think we're okay. Let's give it a shot. We'll try to start it. All right, looks like we got her dialed in again, so that's cool. She runs again. Now, if you've never seen how one of these work, it's not a constant velocity engine or motor, whatever you want to call it. It's set up for a certain RPM. So once it hits that RPM, the governor keeps it from firing again. So until it drops below that RPM, that's when this thing will let it fire again. The governor will close up a little bit and let this thing fire. So it only combusts on probably every fourth or fifth stroke probably. And that's all it needs to keep that at a certain RPM. So now that we've got this thing running again, we're all dialed in. I want to get it on a cart, and I got this trolley cart here from my mailman. He saw that I needed one, and he offered this one up. And it's got all the hardware we need. However, the wood here is a little worse for wear, and we need to go a little bit longer for the application that we're going to do. We're wanting to eventually make an ice cream maker, and I'll show you a picture of that right now. So we've got the timber bought for this a couple years ago, the wood that we're going to use. We'll go show you that. Here's the hardwood timber we purchased on the table saw. We're going to cut this thing down the middle, and it should give us enough for 2 side rails and 2 cross pieces to go in between. So let's get this trolley up on my work table here, and we'll get it taken apart. We'll get the metal pieces taken off of it. We've got to clean those up, paint them, and make our new timbers for our hit and miss engine to sit on. Got our trolley up here on the table. You can see it's got pretty good stout steel hardware. It's got set screws right here to adjust the axle. It's got the brackets that bolt through the wood here. And then we got a single set screw up here because this unit up here is your steering axle. Rotates right here. And then you have your handle's up underneath right now. It's folded down. So what we got to do is we got to take these bolts loose, and what we're eventually going to do is we're going to take all these pins out. We're going to take this thing completely apart so we can clean up all the components. So let's get to wrenching. Put a little PB blaster on our bolts because they're old. We'll get them all. And our square head nuts on here appear to be 9/16. Always one bolt in the bunch has got to give you a hard time. This one's spinning, and I can't hold it underneath. We're going to take this wheel off of this end. That way it's not in our way. We can get our grinder with a cutoff wheel in here. Cut that off. That cutoff wheel does not mess around. All right, we should be loose. There we go. And I think we're going to use new bolts, so we weren't worried about saving those bolts. So here's our new timber here. Figure out the dimensions. Our old one down here was basically made out of 2x4s, 1.5 inches one way, 3.5 inches the other. So with this one, all we're limited to is we're limited to 3 inches here. So we'll probably go 1 3/4, and then we can get 3 pieces out of this timber. So we'll set our fence at 1 3/4 and run this through 3 times. We want to figure out our pieces in between. Our pieces in between are going to be mortised in 1/2 inch. So with that 7.5 inch spacing here, we got 5 3/4. So we're basically going to add 1 inch for our 1/2 inch here and our 1/2 inch here. So our center pieces will be cut at 6 3/4. We have our cross pieces cut, so now we got to cut our long pieces to length. I'm thinking we're going to need about 5 feet, and I think we can get 5 feet out of these. Okay, we got everything cut to length. So we're going to hold our end pieces in just a little bit, probably not this far, but you get the idea. And then I think we're going to go with just one in the center. Should be plenty strong enough. Now, bolting these together, we're going to drill 1/2 inch hole all the way through the center pieces, and then just one hole here. And then while I was out in California, I picked up these bridge washers. I really like these because they look kind of old and industrial looking. And then remember these long bolts we got at that last auction? Come in a box. They just happen to be the perfect size to go in here. Go figure. So these will be bolted all the way through in 3 areas. So now we're going to set up to do these mortises here. Remember, we got a 1/2 inch mortise by 1 3/4 to cut on both sides. So there's 6 mortises we got to cut. Got our mortises done nice and clean. Got our cross pieces installed. We've got them clamped. We didn't clamp in the center because remember we got to drill a hole. And that's what we're going to do next. Let me find a 1/2 inch bit that'll go all the way through here. So we have these 2 bits. We're going to start with this one because it's got the screw on the end that'll actually pull this bit through the wood. And we'll go halfway with both sides with this. And then we have this really long one that we just got at auction the other day also. So we can, once we get through both sides, we can run this big long one through and it'll kind of line everything up. So as I drill these holes, I'm looking this way, make sure I'm vertical. And then I'll rotate over here, look at this way, make sure I'm vertical. And we'll just keep jumping back and forth, making sure that we're straight. And that'll get us really, really close. And they will connect. Okay, we're drilling through the other side. You'll see when it connects. All the way through. Let's switch drill bits real quick. Go all the way through with this one. Got our frame all together. I think it came out real nice and clean. Gonna hold together nicely, nice and tight. I think it looks good. And then we're going to have to disassemble our trolley, clean those parts up and paint those. We've got to sand this and stain this. Don't go nowhere, but that's not going to be right now. Okay, we're back. Yeah, I shaved it back off. We're going to get on the running gear now and get this ready to go, ready to be painted. Got to get this all taken apart. Got some crazy stuff, bent nails in here, and been monkey rigged a few times. You can see the handle's a little bent up. We'll have to straighten that once we get it off. So let's start disassembling. We've already had this wheel off, so that'll be easy. I just realized I'm missing two of these for the other axle. They go on both sides of the wheels. So we'll have to figure out maybe a couple locking collars or something for the other steering axle. Or we'll put it on this and we'll use these on the steering axle. Well, we got a pile of parts. Got everything cleaned up as they're going to get. Time to put some paint on it, but lunchtime, I'm going to go grab some lunch real quick and we'll be right back out. Okay, time to get painting. Getting ready for paint is literally one of my least favorite things to do, but it sure looks nice when it's done. So we're going to wait for this to dry to the touch, and then we'll flip it over and do the other side. Meanwhile, we can go over there and start putting holes in our wood frame. Now our back axle is easy because it can just go on center, because remember that axle just passes through the two pillars that are on there. So I want to go 8 inches on center to the center of the axle, and then the bolt pattern for our flanges is 4 inches. So all we got to do is drill these all the way through. Got our 8 inches on center. Our bolt pattern is 1.5 inches wide on center. And then we have our 8 inches from here to here marked. So we just drill on those 4 spots. And then the front axle will have the holes that it needs. All right, all done with those. Now we need to figure out where our hit and miss engine is going to go on here. I want it towards the front of the cart. So we'll see how far back we need to put it, and we'll get those holes measured in. All right, we want our first bolt 10 inches from the end, and that'll put the front of the engine here. And then our on-center spacing front to back is a little weird. It's 15 5/8. Pretty strange that they would do that so off measurement like that. But side to side is right on 7 inches on center. So we've marked 7 across. We used our square and we squared off of one side. So our hole pattern would be perfectly square. So we'll get those drilled. Our hole pattern is done. We got all our holes drilled. So we should be good to go. So we're just going to clean this up with a light sanding, and then we can get some finish on this. Got our first coat of finish on our wooden frame. I love the color. It's going to look even better after the second coat. All of our green parts are green and they're curing. So I'm going to come back in tonight and put another coat on here, but we'll see you in the morning for the assembly. All right, folks, we are back. I came out last night, put a second coat of finish on our frame. Let's show it to you. Look at that. I'm very pleased with that. That looks just gorgeous. Can't wait to get this thing together. Now, I've got to do one thing that I should have done yesterday. I remember we need some extra collars for one of our axles. So I'm going to get my work table back here and we'll make those collars real quick. So here's the collars in question here. They go on the axle shaft and a pin goes through here, through a hole in the axle shaft, and you have one of these on either side of the wheels, and it keeps the wheels in place on the axle shaft. So we're missing 2 of these. We should have 8. There was 2 missing on the steering axle. So here's our axle shaft. I have a piece of round tubing that fits the axle shaft 1 1/4 right in here. And then we've got some little 5/16 set screws and then some 5/16 washers. So what we're going to do is we're going to get us a nice square cut here. We'll cut us some collars probably about 1 inch wide. We'll drill a hole and then we'll weld this nut over the hole like that. And then our set screw will go down in there and lock onto the axle shaft, and they won't allow that wheel to move. So we need to make 2 of those. Okay, we got our collars made. I put the set screws all the way in and put a jam nut on the inside just to hold our nut down here, so we're not going to bung up any threads in that nut or on this jam or on the set screw. So we'll weld this outer nut on. We'll be ready to go. Just need a little paint. All right, there's our little locking collar. Got the nut pulled out of the inside. Everything's welded on. Okay, we got paint on our new collars. We've got our work surface over here, got our frame. We've got the bottom up because we're going to put the wheels on this thing first. So we'll start assembling the steering axle first because we're going to put these new collars on just the tag axle. So we'll start getting there together. Okay, we've got these 3/8 all thread carriage bolts that we got at another auction at some point. We got a whole drawer full of these things. Really good to have this stuff around. So we've got these carriage bolts snugged up to where they're just flat down on the wood. Got this square part pulled into the wood. So now we'll come through with our cutoff wheel and we'll just knock off the excess of these bolts, leaving just a little bit here, probably 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch above that nut. Okay, steering axle is complete. Doesn't that green pop off of that wood frame? That's awesome looking. So now we're going to put the rear axle on. All right, our collars worked perfect. Keeps our wheels from moving around. Right on. So we got to get an area cleaned up so we can get this thing turned over and get it on the floor. And then we'll work on getting our engine put on this thing. Well, there we go. Got to scratch those wheels sometime. Sharp looking cart right there. So let's get this motor pulled off of those old beams there. I want to tighten up the oil pan bolts and all that before we set her down. We'll get her set on here. We're going to have to use the cherry picker to do it. All right, we got her off the old base. I get nervous anytime I got this thing hanging in the air. So I'm going to leave it over the table here for a little bit until we tighten up our oil pan bolts. And then we'll ease this table out of here and get her down through the ground. Okay, I can breathe a little easier now. Got her set down off of the hoist. Even got her bolted in there. Bolt pattern was perfect. You can see our green color is a little bit off, but not too far. There's two different colors of John Deere green. There's the heritage green that you can get at John Deere, even in a rattle can. And then most of the green you get at the store is a little bit darker green. But we'll deal with that, it's fine. Got plenty of room back here for our ice cream maker. So real pleased with how it came out. Now all we have to do is save up for the ice cream maker portion of this unit. I think the kit cost about $1,500 from Lehman. But we may just buy the bucket itself, see how much that is, and we can source the pulleys and the shafts and the bearings and all that separately. We could probably get it cheaper, separate pieces than the whole kit together. But we'll see. But we're excited to get it done this far. It took 3 days, but it's been a lot longer than that in the making, let me tell you, folks. But hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did. I really liked hanging out with you guys. And I hope you come back and see us real soon here on Markelly Farm. And if you're into this content, tell your friends about us, share the channel. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come back and see us here at the farm. We're looking forward to it.